We going to do any funny outtakes here in the beginning or what, Angelo? No, you're already muted, so there's the outtake. You can't say anything.
We'll probably fuck something up. Does it sound different, like without the fuzzy thing on it?
Not yet.
All right. Well, that's cool.
I don't think so. No. Why'd you lose your fuzzy thing?
I think one of the cats took it.
The cats took it. Oh my God, this is Chaos and Company back again. All right, here we go. Welcome, everybody. This is the Fall Line with Chaos and Company. I'm Dave Capron. I'm here with my buddy Angelo Ross, and we are here for an awesome episode. We have Alison Cummings with us, and she is one of our Ed staff members, longtime members here in the East Coast. She's also been our ACE team coach. She's also going to tell us a little later in the podcast about the JET team, which she was a part of on a national level back in the 90s, wasn't it, Alison?
The 90s. Yes.
Yeah. That was the first time I got to ski with Alison. But hey, how's it going, Angelo?
Going pretty good. I just noticed this blemish on my forehead.
What's that from?
I don't know. Adolescence. I'm going.
We usually have your hat on.
Life. I know. We should have a makeup artist. Maybe next season. It's like throwing a shadow. I apologize to the people who are watching this on YouTube.
We'll have to get a hold of Brian Nuss. Maybe he can find us some makeup artists for us.
That's what we need.
Yeah. So Alison, where you been this week?
I was at Whiteface on Sunday night, Monday, Tuesday, and home today working. Everyone's getting back to the real level of work. And I know I was in the greenhouses the last few days. Angelo was probably doing his honey-do list. The retired man.
I did an FS1 the last 2 days at Seven Springs.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
There you go. Nice.
So I'm recovering today.
Yeah. Geez. So you're not going to go out and get on the deck then with the skateboard then?
Well, as soon as it dries off.
Oh, did it snow down there or rain?
It's just kind of damp from snow.
Yeah. So, well, we are here to speak with Alison, and as we always do, we like to start when we have someone on the podcast the first time at the beginning. People love to know how we first started learning how to ski or when we skied. So we're definitely curious, Alison, what was the first experience on skis and how old were you? Was it with family? Was it with friends or an organized ski lesson?
So when I was probably 4, we lived in Connecticut. And I remember, this is my first memory of skiing. We were in the backyard, and I think I have 2 brothers, one's older and one's younger, and they're both in the ski business now, but we each had our own little wooden skis in different colors. And we sort of had this color coded thing in our life. Like I was always blue. My little brother was always yellow, and my other brother was always red. And so I had the blue skis, and in the backyard, up and down, climbing back up, skiing down. That was it. Backyard in Connecticut.
That's cool.
On my blue skis.
Yeah. Did you ever like want a different color and like fight with your brothers to get the yellow or red ones?
No, I still love blue.
Blue is the color.
Thing. Yeah.
Angela, what's your color?
I like them all. I like yellow.
I got to say orange now. Or
I like orange, but I don't wear it.
I don't wear it.
If you wear orange in my neighborhood with all the hunters, they try to make you mayor. I don't want to be the mayor of.
Oh, gee, you don't be the mayor.
Is that why you made us orange sweatshirts?
I made those. I don't know why I made those orange sweatshirts.
They're pretty orange.
I think Sue Kramer picked that color.
Oh, did she?
Yeah.
Too funny.
Oh, God.
That's funny.
So were you hooked right away, Alison, in the backyard? I mean, that's kind of neat because that's what my parents did with me. I don't even remember it. It was just in the backyard walking on plastic skis. Was it hooked at first thing?
I think I was young enough, but I can't really say that I was hooked. But when we moved to Vermont in the early 60s, we skied all the time. And it was it's what we did. Not my mom so much, but the 3 of us, my brothers and I, we lived at this house where we were just down the road from a ski area. It was Timber Ridge. It's one of the little, defunct ski areas in Vermont right now. But she used to go to work, and we had this old Land Rover, and she'd tie a rope to the back of it, and she'd pull us over to the ski area, drop us off, and we'd, climb our way up to the lifts, and we'd ski all day, and then we'd hike home when we were done. So we were like left loose on the hill for the whole day. It was awesome.
Oh, so God, Angela, we were in it. We could have fun now. If we're going to get to training, we're going to have some ropes. We're going to tie them to the back of Alison's car.
Yeah, like
all right, pull us around, man.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine doing that now?
Oh man, I can imagine next fall. We just can't let Kathy know.
It was pretty fun.
We'll have some we'll see where training is. If it's at Mount Snow or Killington, we'll do some jetting around behind the cars and vehicles. That'll be some fun. We'll see who can go the fastest. We'll build some jumps.
Ski George.
Oh, so did your mom pull like all three of you behind the Land Rover, like all three on the same rope, or was it three different ropes?
Oh, there may have been different ropes. I can't remember. There were some good wrecks though, for sure.
Oh, yeah,
it was good. It was good.
Oh, Angela, I knew you'd love this.
Think about the risk, the risk awareness that we did not have back then. Yeah. Right.
Oh my God. Now, you rat packed around with your brothers, and was there other kids that you knew in it? Like, was it just a big pack and going skiing?
Yeah, totally big pack. Cause it was Timber Ridge was like this little enclave of little chalets and part-time, weekend people and holiday people. And we got to be really good friends with all of them, and the parents were all friends, and we just rat packed around, took jumps, and it was fun stuff.
So who got in the most trouble? Your brothers, you, one of them?
Probably my little brother. He was always gunning for it. We had there was this T-bar. This was hilarious. The main lift for a while was a T-bar, and it was really had a tight cable on it. And my brother was like 6. He was tiny. And he'd get on that T-bar, ripping little skier, get on the T-bar, and it would like go up into its carriage. And he wouldn't let go. He would just hang on. Yeah. And he'd be hanging up there. Just wait, seeing how far up the hill he could get. It was very funny.
I know that because that happened at Mount Whittier where I skied. It was the big metal tube and had the big spring in it. So I could get on it, and I didn't have to pull it out on the lower thing. Then when I went over the hump up on the top, it would lift me up in the air, and I'd be hanging on, spinning. I'd just be spinning on it. But I wanted to get to the top, so I know just how your little brother was feeling. So every time I drive by going to work up to Attitash, I'm like, yep, I remember that going up the number 1 T-bar. Oh, man, that is so funny. It's crazy, all this stuff we did as kids, and it's like now it's like, I don't know, they just have chairlifts and stuff. They miss out on the rope tows, the T-bars, all the fun stuff.
Oh, all that good balancing stuff, right?
Oh, my God, yes, absolutely. Yep. Oh, yep. So did you take any lessons when you were younger, or was it?
Yeah, there was this one ski teacher. Her name was Claire, and she was at Timber Ridge. And I remember taking lessons with her. I think my mom probably figured that if she didn't give us lessons, she wasn't a good parent, because she left us at the mountain all day on our own. And at least we'd have like 1 hour of supervision with Claire. But it was a tiny little mountain, and everybody knew us and each other, and so nobody ever got into real deep hot water. But then, I went to school in Vermont, so locally, and they have the JISP program, which is the Junior Instructional Ski Program. And so every, I think it was Wednesday afternoon, we would go skiing at Bromley. And it was awesome because you'd carpool, and whoever was your carpool person would have your skis and boots in the car. And I guess we probably got dressed in the car or the base lodge. I can't remember. And then we'd ski all afternoon. So once a week, we'd all go as a school, and you'd get lessons from somebody's parent. And that program's still in existence now.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So
cool.
when did you start getting the teaching bug? Was it early in your teen years? Like, did you start working as a teenager as a ski pro, or later?
I actually, I was on a race team in high school, and I really was terrible, but I broke my leg my senior year playing soccer, and I had to have it screwed back together, and, it was kind of a mess. But when I put a ski boot on again to go to race practice, I was kind of a chicken. And I decided I didn't really want to race. And I don't even really remember how I got involved, but somehow I got to Magic as a ski teacher for, Christmas vacation the year that I was a senior in high school. And it kind of worked. I met some cool people. I had some fun lessons and some training. And I decided that was a good avenue for me because I really was kind of a crappy ski racer. So no need to pursue that any further. I was not very fast.
So did you teach after high school, like continuously, or was there a break or?
So I went to college and then I decided that I wanted to take a semester off, and I got a job at Stratton, offered a job at Stratton in the kids program. And I never really looked back after that. It just, it became sort of my direction.
Oh, that's cool. So you must have been, because I remember as I was first coming into PSA and on the staff, I think you were from Stratton. So you must have been there a long time, unless there were some breaks in between you and elsewhere.
No, I was at Stratton for 35 years.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Long time.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I started in the kids programs, and the second year I was there, they asked me to be the assistant supervisor for the kids programs. And so, but it came with the caveat that I had to get certified. And I was kind of, kicking and screaming about that. But I went to Bromley for it was registration clinic at the time, because it was a really long time ago. And Ray DeVere was my examiner. And I can still remember exactly where I was standing and exactly what we were doing. And I thought, that's the job I want to have. And It was Ray's clinic. And I just knew that that's what I wanted to do. And that's the path I set myself on after that.
Yeah. I mean, that's the part that I don't know a lot of. I mean, I met you the first time, it was in the early 90s. I don't even think I had my associate yet. I think I was in my first year of teaching, or it was my second before I had gone for my associate. And you had come to Gunstock, and you were on the jet team and did a clinic we were in the kids program. I was working the kids program a little bit, and we went out and skied with you. And that was just cool. And it definitely didn't set me on a path of only doing kids, but it definitely had left a mark skiing you then, that to know kids was a big part of this. And that's what I'm curious of, from that time from Ray, skiing with Ray, and you knew your path. What was the journey? Because you've always been like highly associated with the kids and on a national level, on the level here in the East. I mean, what was that path to get there, to get to the jet team?
So the jets didn't exist when I got involved with PSIA. There was a kids committee, and it was sort of a loose thing. And at one point, I think I was on dev team. So it would have been several years after I started ski teaching. I went registered associate full, so 3 years. And then I tried out for dev team and didn't make it. So the next year I tried out for dev team and made it. So I was on dev team, and the Marty Harrison asked me to be on the children's committee, because I don't know exactly how she said it, but basically she said she wanted somebody who had a little bit of street cred, being on the ed staff on the committee to give it some impact. And so a couple years after that is when the jets were conceived. And I think that came from a national kids committee. And we were appointed initially. So I was asked to be the Eastern person on the jets. And I think because I had done a bunch of work with the kids committee, and, I was very focused on, the skill-oriented aspect of teaching children versus the play-oriented aspect, which was sort of where it had been. And, I was sort of trying to take it over to more, more stuff that was going to help the kids be good skiers. And I'm not saying that they weren't doing a great job with recognition and everything and play and making it fun. But I think once it started to take the path of the skill development, I think it changed a little bit, and the Jets were really instrumental in that aspect.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's what happened. The Jets became a national team. We were a team for 11 years. The first team was appointed, and it was sort of small. And then I think 2 years later, there was a tryout. And I think the team ended up being like 9 or 10 people from all around the country. And some of them are still some of my best friends. It was an amazing experience. Really amazing.
Did you know that, Angelo?
Which part?
Well, any of it. I don't know. You might have known all of it. I mean, some of it I knew, some of it I didn't.
No, I didn't know all of that.
It was cool.
But I'm just trying to recollect when I met Alison. And I think, do you remember Alison? It might have been around 95 or 96. And I think it was at Seven Springs.
It was at Seven Springs.
And
I don't remember the year, but
it was.
I probably haven't been to Seven Springs since 96. So it could have been around then.
I think that's about when it was. But then the next time I saw her, Dave, or I don't know if it was the next time, but hung out with her for a little bit more of an extended time was, I think that was 1999, and it must have been a kids symposium at
probably
at either
Stratton.
Wyndham or Hunter, or maybe it was Stratton. It might have been.
I think it was at Stratton. Yeah.
But I met Grizz, and I had known Mickey Stone, but he was there, and I want to say Bonnie O'Hara, but that was like the late
absolutely
90s. Yeah, late 90s.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I did know a little bit of that history, but not all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew a little bit. I knew the Jets was more of a national. It was a national thing, but I didn't know all of them. I knew Alison was on it, and was there anybody else from the East over those years that was on it?
Yeah, the Alexandra Smith was on it, and she really was responsible for the CAP model. Alexandra Smith and Marie Russell Shaw. I mean, the Jets delivered it and, created it together as a team, but those two were really the brains behind it.
Yeah, that's cool. And now was Skiwi was part of that, or it was something that was going on at the same time, or how was that linkage?
Skiwi was an independent company. It was going on right about the same time. It's sort of, they were a franchise kind of company, I think. And I worked for them a little bit, not that much. Maggie Loring was pretty involved with them, and a couple other folks that I still keep in touch with a little bit. But they were sort of Western oriented, and then there were some factions in the East. But it was a method of teaching kids, and they were, they did a really good job, and they got a lot of visibility. They were really, just recognition for the kids are different, and that we can't treat them like little adults. We have to treat them differently. And I think Skiwi was really a forerunner in that realm.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because, I wanted to ask you about this. Do you remember when we had to do the ed staff, the examiners had to do their CS2, and it was a year we were supposed to do it at Stratton. It was going to be the first one. And we lost all the snow. We had a spring that boom, it's gone. And all of us were like, we still want to do it. And you and Sue got together and put together a day.
I remember.
It was scary, man. We went into this, a bunch of us, and we walked in, and we had our workbooks, and I'm handing them in. And we're doing all our workbook stuff. Alison and Sue put us through a day, Angelo, that we were at the end of it. We're like, oh my God, none of our members are going to pass this thing. And we're like, did you guys put this together for us? Or it was like, is this what the members are going to have to? And the smile she has right now, it was twice as big as that because they busted on us all day long, man. It was brutal.
It was. It was.
You guys had fun doing that. I know you did.
We did. It was awesome. It was, the funniest thing is, that we knew that you guys didn't really have a lot of background in this stuff, and we do. So it was really easy for us to, make it really challenging.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of the members have background, so they have the experience, so it's easier for the members because they actually do it a lot.
Oh,
So
I remember Lloyd came in. And he had these studies. He had like a 40-page study and all these different studies he was at. And so he's like, Alison, have you seen this study? And you have this. He's holding up. He's like, I have a question on this one question in the workbook. But you went through that like nothing. You're like, well, let's look at it, Lloyd. He answered all his questions. I'm like, I'm glad she's answering because I'm not going to answer those. Oh man, that was crazy.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah. I learned so much being on the Jets team. Like I was just, it was mind boggling, the stuff that we learned. And one of the things that we did that I established when we made the ACE team in the East, we did this too. But one of the most effective things we ever did for training was we went as a team every year somewhere. Like we'd go out to Mount Hood, or we'd find a place and we'd go there together as a team, and everybody on the team would go. And we'd spend a week on our own dime, and we would just, build syllabuses and make plans. And, we'd have total fun while we were doing it and go to the hot springs and go, do all the skiing and stuff. But we really focused on how we could build kids' education in this country. And, ultimately the kids' manual came out of it. And I heard something recently that really kind of made me sad, because somebody said something about the new kids manual versus the old kids manual and how much better the new kids manual is. And I felt really bad because the original kids manual that the Jets put out, there was nothing like that ever. And the Jets really put together something that helped people understand that there are different ages and stages of development, and it can apply to snow sports. And I mean, I think it's really kind of a tribute to that, whoever came up with the idea to have that national kids team as a think tank. And it was brilliant. I'm not saying I'm brilliant. I'm saying the group was brilliant and came up with some amazing stuff, Yeah.
I can see Angelo's turning. He's got some thoughts.
It's just easier to criticize than understand the history of something. That's a shame that happened. But I mean, it's evident that kids learn differently. Like elementary school gym classes are not the same as high school level gym classes. Right.
Right.
Yeah. But
I think the history has gotten lost a little bit. And it's funny because I recently resigned from the ACE team, and I think part of the reason why I resigned is because I got tired of saying, well, we used to do this, or back when we started, this was the focus. And I got tired of saying that because I figured that nobody who's new on the ACE team wants to hear about it anymore. So I figured, it's time to give up my spot for somebody like Angelo who can, maybe bridge the gap a little better than I can. But, there is a lot of really cool history with that whole process of where the kids' instruction started and where it is now.
I think it builds. I don't think we wouldn't have stuff we have now if we didn't have all that. If we didn't have all that work and stuff that, when I got to ski with you and I knew of the Jets, I knew more of that about the Jet team than I did about our national team, to be honest. Our Alpine national team, I didn't have a clue about. The first time I think I even knew we had an Alpine team, I think was when I went to development team training. Seriously, I made the development team, went there, and that's where Terry was there. Terry Barber was there. Murmur Blakesley was there, and Michael was there. That was, I think, Michael's first term on the team, and they'd come and ski with us. But I didn't. But I knew the kids stuff was going on, and I think that was because it was in our schools. It was in our school at Gunstock. We even got to ski with you. Came in, and so it was. And I don't know. I try to save all those manuals from back then because it's amazing. It's not like things are super different. Kids are kids, and it's way thicker.
Yeah. Well, remember Captain Zembo? Do you have any of those manuals? So Captain Zembo, John Alderson, he was on the first Jets team.
Oh, yeah.
And he was a piece of work. That guy still is piece of work. Funny guy.
Everybody says Zembo's was like one of the greatest things ever to come out with kids stuff.
Amazing.
I hear that all the time.
Anybody who teaches skiing or snowboarding now who hasn't read that should read it.
Yeah, I agree.
There's no doubt.
I agree.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, I think it's all of it's so important because, I mean, we look at most of our schools here, I know in the East, at least, that I get to go around to a lot of them, and got to go to 3 resorts I hadn't skied at last week, which was cool. Had a great trip, 4 resorts in 5 days last week. And that was a blast down. And it was 4 states too, because I went like Mass, which I've skied at Mass at Wachusett. Then I went to New York to ski with Mount Peter, down with Bobby Gallo and his crew. That was awesome. And we had a new AASI team member ride with us, Carrie, who was on the snowboard. Then I went to Blue. I never skied Blue. That was awesome. The Great Futures Camp. And then the last one at Powder Ridge that's back open. Have you been to Powder Ridge, Alison? Yeah, that's a cool one.
I've been to Powder Ridge, but I can't remember when. It wasn't recently.
No, because they just got back open, and I think Tom Loring was telling me it was like 2005. They've been closed since, so it was pretty cool.
Yeah,
but, and it was warm too. I wasn't cold. It was like 55 degrees, so we had some pretty wet snow.
Always fun.
But we are teaching kids. I mean, it's probably close to 80% of our lessons. From my estimate, which is no scientific thing, but looking at the home hill and directors and managers we talk to, I mean, it's of all your lessons, seasonals, day lessons, privates, under 18, it's like probably close to 80% of our lessons.
Yep.
And, I mean, that's what we're, I mean, it's 80%, it's pretty important. So,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, and here's the big question, like, how did you get the love for teaching kids? Because it's not just that you do it or you're good at it or they push you in that direction. I mean, I've known you long enough that when you talk about teaching kids and when you have us out there and we're working on some stuff, like we did the CS2 stuff and CS1 stuff we had to do with staff members. I mean, it's important to you and it's a passion.
Yeah.
Was that right from the beginning? Was there just kids were something you wanted to focus on because you wanted them to get something they weren't getting, or is it just something I don't know that you enjoy about it?
That's sort of an interesting question because I think because I'm a woman in the ski business and I was working for an Austrian ski school, I definitely got pigeonholed into the kids' realm. Not that I was unhappy about it. And, back then in the 80s, who knew, right? Like I didn't have a big, like, I'm a woman, I don't want to teach kids and be stereotyped and all that. But I think I did get pigeonholed initially. But I got involved, through the kids committee and then through the Jets. And I love the science of it. Like I love the, trying to solve the problem piece of it. Like I love the spontaneity of teaching kids for sure, because you never know what's going to happen. And it's always like, oh, look at that. That's never happened to me before. And how am I going to deal with it? But then I like the science of like, well, let's think about this for a second. How old is that kid? What did he have for breakfast? Why is he there? What's the motivation? What are the skills that can fit into this little package here? How do I fix that? And how do I take what I'm seeing and improve on it? I love that part of it because I find it's a puzzle, and solving the puzzle is super fun for me. I like that. So I don't know if that really answers your question, but I think that's sort of the way my brain works about it.
No, it does. And then my partner over there that we do this podcast with, I know he loves it too, man. He's been doing it for a lot of years on the hill skiing, but also in the classroom.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Yeah, he talks about it.
And I don't know, Dave, what your first couple of years were like as a ski teacher, but everybody in my experience that was my age when I started got pigeonholed into the kids thing. Like I'm not a woman. but I was a young kid myself. Right. I was 18 or whatever. And so you end up as at Seven Springs, we were called junior ski instructors. Our program was called junior ski, but that was the track that I was on for sure. And all my friends were on. And then I just happened to go into education as a career choice then too. But it was probably born out a little bit out of my experience as a ski teacher first. I think ski teaching informed me as a school teacher more than being a school teacher informed me as a ski instructor. That's a topic maybe for another time, but I just always felt what was going on the ski hill was a little more, or maybe a lot more authentic than what was happening in the schools,
That's interesting.
Yeah.
We took, from the Jets perspective, we ended up taking a lot of models from academia and modifying them for snow sports. And I didn't study, I didn't go to college for childhood development or anything. And I learned so much just from being a part of the Jets and being in these discussions and trying to figure out how to take, multiple intelligence theory, how to take that and apply it to snow sports, and how to take childhood development theory and apply it to snow sports. It just, like what you just said, Angelo, it's so connected. And I'm sure any sport is the same. If you're working with kids in any sport, you could say the same thing, because the way that they perform is totally related to the way they think and feel and believe and move. So,
and you said the word models, and that's an interesting word. Like, instruction and learning are really interesting. That's an interesting topic to look at. And you were talking about what informs your brain or how your brain works, Alison. And I was a school teacher for 20 years, but I look at things on the ski hill, particularly with kids, more the model I look at is, I call it the skate park model. It's not even a real thing, but it's really interesting how kids learn in a skate park, showing up, kind of monkey see, monkey do, on the periphery, observing, trying things. Every once in a while, an older kid might come over and give a piece of advice and stuff like that. But it's a lot of trial and error. It's a lot of taking a beating, but you learn, and then those movements you're invested in those movements. They're wired in. And then, but the counter model that I look at, I'm not going to say the name of the company, but on the show, but pretend there's a large company that deals with recreational equipment. And you walk into these stores, and there's in the one in near me there, you walk in the doors and there's a big climbing wall. And invariably there's some 8 or 9 year old kid hanging on the wall, being belayed by a store employee who's barking 15 commands per minute at this kid. Put this body part here, put your foot here. Now bring your hand up 2 inches to that pink hold. Now look by your left knee. If you come down 6 inches from your left knee, there's a yellow hold for your right foot. And I walk in the door and I'm like, hey man, that thing hanging on that wall right there, that's a primate. Just
it's not hearing you.
Let it climb, dude. It's a climber, but that's a little bit of a rabbit hole, but those are models. Those are learning models, and it all is relevant. Doesn't have to just be from academia or formal education.
Yeah, it is all relevant. And I think that's where, the Jets really were forerunners, if you will, in thinking this way. And then, when the Jets disbanded or were disbanded, not that we wanted to, but when the regions had to take over, then each region had the ability, the East in particular with the AASIs had the ability to continue on that path. And I think being able, certainly for me, being able to bring that mentality from the Jets to the AASIs really helped us continue to work in that same fashion and help grow the understanding of all these different models in snow sports.
So how does one become a better kids coach in Alison's view? Like, I think, what's some of the things that they can do out there, and like resources, like you said, you got a lot from along the way and people you skied with and the experience. I mean, if you would, some young ski coaches out there that are in the kids world and want to become really great kids coaches, what's your advice?
I think the first thing that I would say is you've got to try all sizes. You've got to do it all. You can't say, I'm only going to coach racing, or I'm only going to, work with the 3-year-olds, because you don't learn that way. You've got to have a full experience. And I recommend that people, work in the indoor programs, learn what it's like to receive a child from a parent who's having a meltdown, and get the boots on and do the, find the mittens and put the helmet on and, do that whole piece, get the kids out on the snow, work with all the different levels out on the snow, work with some of the seasonal programs, work with the racing programs, have the experience where you get the day tripper, you get the seasonal kid. You can't become a children's expert in a year. You're not going to go, from 0 to 60 in one season. I really feel like you become really well-rounded when you have the experiences of, day after day, a different diet of kids. From, potty breaks and potty mistakes to pitch and catch on the hill to teaching the little rippers. You got to do it all. That's my advice. And, it can be an amazing experience if you think of it in terms of the fact that you're doing research. If you want to become an expert, you're doing research every day. It's like, wow, that, like I said before, that never happened to me before. How am I going to deal with it?
Yeah, they definitely gave me a big dose of anything when I was at Gunstock, Angelo. You asked, what did I have to do? It was, we had school groups that came in that was all different levels, and it was pretty wild, the different schools in our area. You could tell when certain schools came in, the kids had way better skis and clothing than I did. And then you had the schools that were coming in, the kids were coming in their jeans, and lucky if they had, a jean jacket, never mind a ski jacket.
Right.
But then we had the regular programs on the weekend, and the kids program, the daily, when the weekend folks would come in. It was definitely in different age levels. We called it tag and bag when Nate Waterhouse and I were working at Gunstock, because kids would come in and we'd have to tag everything with the masking tape with their name on it. Everything went into a little bag and got hung up on their hook. And Nate's down there doing the tech and the skis before he went out and we all started teaching.
There's so many moving parts, there's all of that. And then you get the kids that are not there from their own motivation. They don't want to be there. Somebody else is making them be there, and you've got that mental gymnastics that's going on. And then you've got the parents, and learning how to deal with the parents in an appropriate fashion and in a reasonable fashion. That's a whole nother factor. I think having one of the things that I used to coach my instructors on when I ran the kids programs at Stratton was that if they have the knowledge, about how kids learn and why kids do what they do, then when it comes time to tell the parent, like, hey, this is what happened today, or this is where your kid is. If they have the words and they can understand how to make themselves sound like they know what they're talking about, the parents will trust them. It doesn't matter if they're 16 or 30. If they know what they're talking about, the parents trust them. And I think a big part of a ski lesson is, mileage coaching, because the parent takes the kid from the lesson a lot of times and goes skiing with them. And if they're not going to be a good mileage coach for the kid, then you get them back the next day and everything that you've done is gone. They take them on the black diamonds. It creates chaos and wreaks havoc. And then, you get them back and you have to fix it, So I think having the knowledge as a kid's coach is so important.
So that's interesting, because one of the questions I want to ask you, and you probably answered it right there, but I was kind of wondering where you felt we needed to go as an industry in terms of kids, or maybe just the East, because we see it more often. But I know you've been involved a lot more nationally than I have in terms of these things. So, like, is it in the cognitive world, the affective, is it physical, or all? Or you mentioned a couple of them there. I mean, we've got to understand the parents is a little more than just the physical world. But then you've also talked about that it's really passionate for you to make sure we have a good technical piece for our kids. Are we missing it all over? Do we need to get better in all realms, or is there one they're definitely missing it big?
I don't think we're missing it big. I think what happens is, the way we live our lives in general, everybody is too busy to take the time that we need to do the things that need to be done well. So the schools are busy. There's not enough help. There's not enough time for training. And so therefore, here, take these 10 kids and go. Well, I've never taught before, or this is my second lesson. Doesn't matter, just go. Make sure you don't lose anybody and have a good time. So we've lost or if we ever had it, we've lost the opportunities to really train people properly and train our instructors. I feel like in all realms, not specific to, cognitive, affective, or physical, but just in all realms. I go out and watch people skiing in front of groups in a parallel, and the kids are coming straight down in a wedge behind. Or, you go to a beginner area and there's one instructor at the top and one instructor at the bottom, and somebody's, pitching and catching. And the kids, they can learn that way, but they will learn more effectively and efficiently if we take the time to train the instructors properly. There are better ways to do that. And I just don't know that in our society that we take the time.
I wish I had more time.
We all
kids
do.
World,
I mean, I do too.
The kids world is the kids coaches work all day. I mean, they're bringing the kids in early, because we let them come in early, which we need to get them in, to get them through rentals, to get them organized into groups. And then they're working, COVID's been a little in and out for some resorts, but a lot of resorts this year have been back to lunch, and in the old, before COVID, we were all working lunch and then right back on the hill. And then by the time you finish with parents, it's like 3:30 with like a half an hour of the day left. So yeah.
I think we have to be creative about how we train people. Like, Zoom is a thing. Yeah. Like, let's use it. Or obviously there's nothing as good as hands-on, but get somebody who knows what they're doing out with the instructors who don't know what they're doing. And whether it's the supervisors or the trainers or whatever, but get them working together so that they can show each other what makes sense and how to, I think if you're really learning about how to teach well and how to be creative in your teaching and how to recognize what you're seeing, you can have more fun with it. And instead of thinking, oh God, I got another group of 6-year-olds, it's like, oh, cool. I got this group of 6-year-olds. Let's see what we can do with it today. And, it's a mentality shift, I think. Maybe.
With training, I think mentorship comes into that. And I mean, I have to say it's interesting to me that I've been lucky, I guess, that I've always felt like there's been a lot of people around me to help right from when I started teaching at Gunstock, in kids world and adult world, the whole thing. And then as I went through the stages, and I mean, now it's like, all I have to do is go to training and I sit in a room with like 80 people, or I've had the chance to go to ACE team training quite a few times. And I mean, you've been one of my mentors along the way that I can come and ask questions, or I've been able to ski in groups at training with you've led. So, I mean, how what did you have for mentors along the way, or how did you use them? Did you have them?
You know, I like this question because I'm on that mentor program that it has started in the East. And I don't know that I've been an incredibly effective mentor for my person this year, but I'm going to reach out to him again after this. I definitely had some mentors. I think probably when I got to the Jets team, that's when I really started to think about who I looked up to and who was really sort of steering me into the direction that I was going. A lot of the peers on the Jets team were my mentors and still are, as a matter of fact. Chris Katzenberger from Utah, Deer Valley, and Marie Russell Shaw, I've mentioned before, Amy Zam and Grant Nakamura. These people, they're just people that, they've helped guide me. I've helped guide them, I think, sort of back and forth. Chris and I were co-coaches of the Jets for a while, and, that was an incredible experience to be able to work together. But, I don't know that I really had the sense or knowledge to ask somebody to mentor me back then. And if I was to go back and advise my younger self, I might say, hey, find somebody who can help guide you, because I didn't really know which direction I was going or where I could go. And I think if I had been guided maybe the way some of the people that I see now are being guided and encouraged, I might have been in a different place. Not that I'm in a bad place. I'm not saying that. I'm in a good place, but I might have chosen a little bit of a different path. Like, I always wanted to get into ski area management, and I just didn't know how to do it. I think I just kept hitting the ceiling somehow. So I took a different path.
I think your comment, Alison, about not having a lot of opportunity to train people is really important. That's really, really relevant, because what I see traveling now, and even being at the home resorts, because there's limited time. I mean, let's face it, these are very corporate times in the world of ski, not only ski instruction, but I mean, that's part of the reason I left public ed, because it was becoming corporate, not in the funding of it necessarily, although there is corporate money coming into schools, or in the governance of it, but just the mindset. They started to call our graduates, they started to call them our product. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Yeah. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. But that's systemic. That's not just limited to education. And I think the way we're seeing it right now in ski teaching is, there's a heavy corporate influence. There's not a lot of interest in spending money on things that don't provide like tangible results in that mindset. And so what you see, what instructors get as training is how to deliver direct instruction. So that's what you see on the hills, people delivering direct instruction, but that's only one way to do it. Sometimes it's effective, in other ways it could be better. And like, one interesting aspect of this education talk is that there are certain things we talk about that are kid specific, but this stuff isn't necessarily divided just into kid and non-kid. Right. Like I said earlier, we did this FS1. I was with Brian McVicker. It was a treat to work with Brian and learn from him as he ran that event. But we had 12 adults in that event, and 10 of them had never done a 50-50 on a box, like a ride-on flat box. So here you have these adults, but in terms of skill development, they may as well have been kids. They had never done this thing. It was brand new to them. And the way that was set up, the way Brian set that up is we had a flat ride on box. He set it up like a session. One person went, other people were watching. They see it starting to happen. But it reached a point where during this hour and a half session on this flat box, Brian and I were just kind of off to the side, trying to stay out of the way as all this learning was occurring and all this progression was happening. And you had people who, like, literally in an hour and a half, in 90 minutes, went from having never slid on a box to going on switch, coming off regular, going on regular, doing a 180, coming off switch, figuring out ways to use the feature. We had a little tiny rainbow box there. It was ride on. And they're, if I go a little bit faster, I can use the rainbow box like a jump and clear the back side of it. All this progression started to happen with us out of the way, without any direct instruction occurring. And that mindset with kids,
that's interesting stuff.
That's really good stuff.
Yeah, it is good stuff. That's cool. Yeah, that's, the whole experiential learning model, right?
Yeah.
So cool. Yeah.
So we went from the Jets to the Ace. I want to make sure people know this, because I don't know all the ins and outs of how it formed, but you were the first coach of the Ace team, and had to be part of how that was formed. And it's grown into something, evolved into something pretty important here in all of our regions, but definitely here in the East as a group that you've been a part of for a long time. How did that come about to form, and just how it started?
So after the Jets were done, I just have to tell you this because it's hilarious. The year that they decided that the Jets were going to no longer be, we were at national team training, and they told us that. And, we had just produced the manual. We had put together this amazing, Kids Academy. We did those all over the country. And the Nords, the national Nordic team, had a wake for the Jets. It was hilarious. So we went to this bar, and everything was dark, and they all had Jets on their shirts, and there was a coffin, and they had a wake. It was hilarious because everybody was really disappointed that the Jets were going away, because it was, we were part of the team for a long time. It was fun. But anyway, so after that happened, National said that they wanted the divisions to take over the kids' education piece. So I was on I think I was the children's committee chair at the time, I think, in the East. And so I was on the board of directors, and we decided that what we would do is create sort of a mini team, a mini Jets, in the East. And we came up with the name Advanced Children's Educators. Mickey Stone was very involved in this also, because from his experience on the National Nordic team, he knew what the Jets were about, and he knew how much impact we actually did have on a national level. So he was instrumental in helping develop it. And, we had a vision of what it was going to look like and be, and it ended up really being incredible. It was a super fun time in the East for kids education. Putting the team together, the tryouts, and then starting to, we really kind of started with the kids academies, which seem to have gone away a little bit, and a lot of kids events. And then the specialist came into being, the kids specialist 1 and 2 came into being. And, now it seems like that's the main focus. And I'm sort of sorry that it got away from really teaching about kids, but maybe that'll come back someday.
It's definitely CS1, CS2 is the bulk, or pretty much what our ACE team does now.
Yeah. And I miss the era of where we taught people to be good kids teachers, because I think now we're just sort of working toward the credential, which is important. I totally don't disagree that that's important, but I think there's a lot we could be we could be a broader education in that realm. We could offer a broader education in that realm, but I don't want to be negative about anything.
Well, sometimes we have to think about those things. Just, how can we improve versus negative? Just, how can we make it better and how can we progress? And, but yeah, because I see that. I mean, it's definitely kind of that credential, and that's what we're focused on in terms of, it'd be nice to see some other events in there attended, like the Children's Academy there, in the fall was great. We haven't done one in a while. Yeah.
I missed that. That was a great event.
Yeah.
And, it was a great event to kind of put together some of the people in the East who needed that camaraderie and that reassurance that being a kid's coach and a kid's program manager was an okay thing. And I think we miss that now, the validation that it's okay to work in the kids' world. So anyway.
Yeah. And another piece of this you've been talking about is, you might have got moved in, and you're not the first one that spoke on the podcast about, because you're a woman, you went into the kids' world.
Yeah.
And you just had the PSIA-AASI Women's Summit at Stowe 2022. Can you tell us a little bit about that? I know when I came in on Wednesday, we were there for the tryouts that were starting on Thursday, and that was the last day. There was a lot of energy and excitement going on. And we didn't get kicked out. We actually got a lot of hugs when we walked in, Angela. It wasn't like, get out of here. It was like definitely welcomed. And
I have to say that one of the women came up to me and said that she was a fan of the show. And she looked at me and she said, "You're skinnier in person." And I said, I didn't know what to say. And then I'm like, well, Zoom adds 10 pounds.
Perfect. That's just what I need. Too funny.
But
tell us about the summit. Oh, go ahead.
Bro, I was just
sorry, Angela.
I agree with you that the energy at that event was really cool.
Yeah. So just, I don't know how much you know about the women's summits, but a bunch of years ago, Heidi Etlinger asked me to come and coach at the Women's Summit at SQUA. And I remember when I met Heidi, she goes, "Oh, you're Allie Cummings." And I was like, what the hell is that supposed to mean? I was kind of taken aback. And then, she explained, I've heard so much about you and, the kids thing and whatever. And she asked me to come and coach at the National Women's Summit. And I was incredibly flattered. And I went out and I've been like hooked ever since. I've been to every summit except one, for the last 7-8 years. And when they started to become regional, divisional, and the East was able to have it and host it, I was so excited to be asked to be on the committee to plan it. And then, of course, COVID happened and we didn't have it. So we ended up, I worked with Lee Perini and Murmur and Sue Kramer and Amy Gann, Karen Haringa, and there's one more that I'm spacing, but then Kathy Brennan came on and helped us out toward the end. Goodness, who am I missing? Anyway, I'll think of that. But we all worked together to put together a virtual summit, which actually, I think 500 people attended the virtual summit in the year that we couldn't have the summit. And so I think that built a lot of energy and anticipation and expectation for this year. And the fact that we could actually be together on snow in person and in the East, where a lot of the Eastern women had never had the opportunity or known really about the National Women's Summit, brought in national talent, some amazing coaches from the Eastern Ed staff. It was amazing to actually have it happen, be successful, have great weather, have 150 people there who were there for the same reason, to just promote women in leadership and in the ski business. And I can't even tell you how awesome it was. It was awesome.
Yeah.
So
and you received an award there for some of your long time work. And what was that award?
So it was it was an award for, you know, being, for putting together, you're going to edit this part out.
Maybe not.
It was an award for, it was kind of a shock, and I'm still a little bit in shock. Just for the time and energy that I put in, you know, promoting kids' education. And I think probably a recognition because I resigned from the ACE team this year, and, you know, just saying, hey, thanks for what you did. It was very humbling.
Yeah. I wanted to kind of get your reaction without reading it, but for the folks out there to listen, it's inscribed. This was a PSIA-AASI Eastern Division Service Award. And on the inscription, it said, for long-standing dedication to advancing snow sports education for children, Alison Cummings, awarded in March 2022, which I think is definitely absolutely long-standing dedication to advancing snow sports education for children is absolutely something you've done ever since I met and skied with you back at Gunstock. And I think you definitely have pushed the ed staff as a whole, the examiners and everybody. I mean, when we had the children's module, you definitely gave us a lot of advice and pushed us in a direction to how to score that and what to do at the exams. Yeah. And simple things too, like you saying that, you know, some of our ed staff coaches and kids more than others. Surprisingly, a lot of members out there don't realize how much some of the ed staff does coach in the kids world, but you definitely gave a lot of stuff. I remember at training on how to understand kids coaches when they come in their language, and that they're not that typical adult coach, that we need to ask questions in a certain way to make sure we get the right information, was stuff that I remembered from some of that training. Just because they may not have the language and the technical jargon, they really have some great information on how to teach. Right. They do. And maybe their words are not the words you're expecting to hear, but it doesn't mean they don't know what they're talking about. Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, one of the things I had earlier that I wanted to speak with you about, and I kind of waited, was the real and ideal. You know, that's been something that's around for a while. It was in our study guide. It was in our old exam guide, which now the assessment guide, but the exam guide was in there as a piece that I know you were pretty keen looking at kids to looking at the ideal and real. And can you tell us a little about that? And I think, I mean, obviously it's a little bit not in that format, but they have it kind of with the fundamentals in the new manual. But I mean, I know you were big in that piece there way back. Yeah. I actually remember when I came up with that, I was up visiting Amy Zam, and she was working and I was sitting at her desk, and I started thinking about how, you know, the real and ideal in ski teaching had just come out for, you know, us, for adults. And I thought, well, you know, how would it be if we looked at that from a kid's perspective? Here, Tiger, come and say hi. Oh, there you go.
There's Tiger.
There's Tiger.
Why are you fussy? So I started looking at it in terms of kids, you know, ages and stages, and just put together that little, you know, the stuff that you've seen, the real and ideal for kids. And I had no idea that it would have the traction that it had. It kind of made sense. And I tend to be one of those people just in life where I simplify things, sometimes oversimplify things, but because I don't understand them when they're complex and complicated. So for me to take those words and put them into a chart like that, where people could just look at it quickly and say, oh yeah, that piece is related to that piece. Or if I'm expecting to see this, I'm going to see that if the kid is 3 to 6 or 7 to 12 or whatever. So, I think it was a simplification of something that could have been complicated. and it ended up being a useful piece. And so for that, I'm thankful.
Yeah. Hugely useful. Angelo's processing. I can tell he's got a couple doozies coming.
No, and you always throw me under the bus with these last profound questions that I'm supposed to have. And Tiger messed me up. My profound question was going to be, where's Tiger? And there he shows up on his own time. There he is. Hey, guy.
Hey, buddy, say hi. There he is.
You sell yourself short there, Angelo.
How old is he?
Sell yourself
Allison?
short.
He's 10.
10 years old. Hi, Tiger.
Hey, bud, say hi. Say hi.
Look at that.
Look at that face. Oh, there it is.
I got him a new collar, and I had it on him, and it's this really cool, like woodchucky looking collar. And he was just like the whole time that you guys have been talking to me, he's been like scratching at it. And I'm like, I got to take it off him. It's driving him crazy.
So, Angelo, you're on your journey here. You're starting your journey on the ACE team, and
he's taking over for me.
I have to say, Angelo, for me, I'm disappointed a little bit that, when if I get to ski with the aces or all, Alison won't be. I know I'll be able to ski with her because she's going to be at ed staff training and examiner training. If she's not, I'm going to be calling her. But it's fun, man. It's fun. So you're on your journey. Anything you want to ask for advice here to Alison?
I wouldn't even know what to ask. Like, Alison, what's your advice?
That's a good question. My advice to you would be to continue to grow, continue to strive for new ideas, new angles, new levels of information. Like, what's next? Like, where do we go next?
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's somewhere to go. I don't feel like the aces are done. And the aces shouldn't be done with their level of CS1 and CS2. Mm-hmm. There needs to be another phase for the aces.
Yeah. I mean, I have some ideas and interests. Good. Well, you have to, anytime you're part of a team, you have to see how your ideas and interests fit within the team. But, I look at all these teams that we have as they're faculties, and it's the responsibility of a faculty member to push the rest of the faculty, because everybody's got expertise in different experience in different areas, So that, I am looking forward to presenting some of my thoughts to the team, and also learning. Bonnie Colber's really impressive. I think she's going to be a great coach. She's got some strong ideas and through, conversations with her over the past couple of years, because we, during the pandemic, worked together on some virtual projects, some Zoom things. So I've had her ear a little bit, and she's impressive, and I'm looking forward to learning from her, and
Good.
Just see what happens. Yeah.
Good. I like your comment about the faculty. One of the things that I thought was so amazing, and an amazing thing for me to learn about, was how teams work. And through being on the Jets team, and then being a coach on the team, and then the ACE team, and being a coach on the team, and then being a member on the team, watching how people figure out where they fit in, and watching how the coach figures out who's got what expertise and who's got what piece of the puzzle, and then allowing each person to actually grow and use their expertise and their strengths to make the team a whole. It's really an organic process. Is so fun to watch. And it's great to be able to help nurture it if you can see it and know that it's happening. It's super cool.
Yeah. And I probably didn't see as much of that when I was I'm thinking of, my years in public ed now, but my first couple of years teaching in the high school, I didn't realize as much as I do now the importance of that. Like, having leadership whether it's a building principal or like in our case, team coaches, that is comfortable letting that team push itself, and Rogan always says when he's on here, a rising tide raises all boats. And that's what a good principal, that's what a good team coach or team manager facilitates, which is what faculty means, right?
Right.
To do something, to make something easier to do, but backing off and allowing that organic piece is hard for a lot of people. I don't think Bonnie will have any trouble with that, but
she probably won't. I think there's some people that really recognize that as coaches, and it's it's calling the person who's sitting in the corner, but that their brain is percolating with something and saying, hey, so and so, this is your time. What's going on? What's happening next? Or how are we gonna filter in that piece that you're thinking about right now? It's such a cool process, and it's just, I find it's just fascinating to watch that happen and to help facilitate it.
So Angelo and I are both hoping that just because you stepped down from the ACE team, that you're not done. There's got to be more to accomplish. There must be more things and more you still want to do ski teaching wise and out there on the hill with us. Yes, no?
Oh, I suppose. Yeah, I don't know. I sort of think that, I don't know what's next. Of course, I'm not going to give up the stuff that I'm passionate about, which is coaching people and, teaching and all of that. I don't know what the next step is, to be honest with you. I sort of think that maybe some consulting with kids' schools about how to train their instructors might be a good way to go. I don't know. We'll see. I guess we'll just have to see.
Cool. That's awesome. Well, I'm glad that you still have those thoughts, because you've definitely inspired me from the first time I got to ski with you back then and have over the years. So thank you very much. And Angelo and I, as we like to do, because we mean this, so we'd like to have you back on at some point, because we definitely could get into some subjects that I know people would be amazed that to learn more about kids and really dissect some things that I know Angelo would love to chat about. But thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for asking me.
Oh, it's awesome. We've been psyched. You've been on our list for a while and just things hadn't fallen into place. So this was perfect. And we just want to send out a shout out for helping us do these podcasts with Blizzard Technica for helping us with this. And also Nick's Boot Fitting over by Mount Snow. Nice. They've made it pretty cool to help us keep going with this year, and awesome to have them on as sponsors. Any last words, Angelo, or?
No, thanks for coming on, Alison. I do want to say I always appreciate your confidence. It's real easy to see that your confidence comes from experience, and you have a level head, and it's cool. It's a comforting kind of leadership, and I expect it'll still be there, even though you have a different role moving forward. Everybody can lean on you still a little bit, and that's pretty helpful.
Well, I hope that people realize that they can, and I hope they still do, because I'm not going away, and it's not like I've forgotten what I used to know. So I still know it.
Right.
So thank you for saying that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you, Alison. Anytime. And we're going to have to start thinking about what date, and, we'll just post a date for when we're going to have you back. But thanks a lot. And thanks to everybody out there for listening. Hope you enjoyed this one. This has been the Fall Line with Chaos and Company.